Since you have already lost, I invite you today to join the winning side. With those words, Archbishop Tutu addressed the notorious South African security forces when they invaded his cathedral. This was back in the bad old days when, to all appearances, apartheid had a stranglehold on power. So when the armed forces broke in, there was a sense of fear and apprehension amongst the worshippers. Tutu looked at these intruders, and then with a smile on his face he addressed them with those words. Since you have already lost, I invite you today to come and join the winning side. The congregation's response was electric. The worshippers were transformed from a group cowering with fear to a people boldly standing up for justice. They leapt to their feet, shouting the praise of God, and began dancing. One writer later commented that that was the moment when apartheid died. Where did the Archbishop's confidence come from? Where came this belief that the apparent mighty, strong forces of the state were in fact doomed? Today is Easter Sunday. We celebrate the resurrection of Jesus. John's Gospel speaks of Mary Magdalene coming to the tomb early and finding it empty. She rushes back to the city to wake Peter and John. Together they run back to investigate. They find the tomb empty, the burial cloths discarded on the ground, but no sign of the body. Although the Gospel implies that this was the moment John saw and believed, surely the two men must have been confused and fearful, for they just returned back to Jerusalem. The Gospel story however continues with Mary now weeping alone by the tomb. It seems the moment of utter defeat. Her Lord has been arrested and cruelly put to death. Now the final insult, even his body has been stolen. She weeps tears of fear, defeat, and despair. Then into her utter misery breaks a new voice. Woman, why are you weeping? Mary pours out her despair. If the stranger has taken the body of Jesus, can he return it? At least give her that crumb of comfort. Then comes that crucial moment. She is called by her name, Mary. Suddenly everything is changed. The despair evaporates. The grief is forgotten. Death itself is shown to be defeated. And that's the central message of Easter. Yet, do we find it difficult to believe that evil and death are now conquered powers? Surely we see evil active, alive, bouncing around in our world. Internationally, we see governments failing to take seriously the effect of climate change. We weep with all of nature at the threatened destruction of our planet. How can we say that in the cross God has won the final victory over evil? The Apostle Paul may be of help here. He points out there is a time lag between a decisive event and its full realization. When he describes Christ's resurrection as the first fruits of God's new creation. The first fruit on the tree is the promise of the harvest that is to come, although there is a time lag between the two. Paul writes, Christ is the first fruits, then comes the end, or we might say harvest, for he must reign until he has put all his enemies under his feet. The last enemy to be destroyed is death. In the cross and resurrection, evil is squashed. At that point, everything changes. So although we do not yet see God's kingdom of justice and love and peace filling our world, the resurrection is the guarantee that it will come. The critical victory has already been won on the cross. Now it's only a matter of time before we see its full effect. We may look at the cruelty, the injustice and the hatred in the world and feel they are all powerful. When we may look at ourselves, at the church, and feel that we are weak, divided and few in number, powerless. Yet Easter is not just about Jesus' resurrection 2,000 years ago. It's a promise that evil is now a defeated force. Easter is an invitation to join the fray. Jesus is alive, death is defeated. Christ has risen, evil has lost, even though the struggle may continue for a while yet. The risen Lord calls us by name as he did Mary. And he calls us to action as Tutu did. Since evil has already lost, I invite you today to come and join the winning side. Amen.